operations that a ship off the coast of Yemen to the southern end of the Red Sea in the Gulf of Aden has now been illegally boarded. We don't have a lot of information beyond that, but we're keeping an eye on it.
Fox's Mike Tobin in Tel Aviv. Iran has also launched missiles and drones into Gulf countries with American bases. Oil prices rising even more as the conflict worsens, up more than 3%, to the highest levels in a month, with WTI back over $81 a barrel. Gas has surged back up 9 cents the past 2 days. AAA's national average for regular $3.98 a gallon. That's $1 more than before the conflict. Change is coming in Britain.
This is a last chance to change, and we must take it together.
That's Andy Burnham, a recently elected member of Parliament and made leader of the Labour Party today. So on Monday, Burnham will take over as the next British Prime Minister, replacing Keir Starmer, who resigned. 2 people are being mourned in Texas, killed in flooding, their vehicles swept away. Hundreds more needed rescue after heavy rain poured down more than 2 feet of it.
It was round after round, just battling this region, and people that are trying to get out of harm's way from all the water and the rivers exploding. Many roadways in the area still endangered, not passable.
Fox Weather's Robert Ray in San Antonio. There are unhealthy air quality alerts in North Dakota and North Carolina. Smoke from Canadian and Minnesota wildfires leaves a haze in the air you can smell. America's listening to Fox News.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, those words weren't written for the history books, they were written for you. It's hard to pursue happiness when pain is part of everyday life. Relief Factor was created to help people address inflammation, one of the most common causes of ongoing aches and pains from aging, overexertion, daily living. It's a 100% drug-free, research-based formula that works through multiple metabolic pathways to support comfort and mobility. No prescriptions, no masking symptoms, just real relief so you can keep moving forward. No back pain for me anymore, thanks to my Relief Factor. As America celebrates 250 years of independence, give yourself the chance to reclaim yours. To commemorate, they're offering a special patriotic price, just $17.76, so you can pursue your happiness being pain-free. Your $17.76 3-week quick start is ready for you. Visit Relief Factor because freedom just feels better without pain. Visit ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, or call 800-4-RELIEF.
Stay inside if at all possible. That's the word from health officials as we're facing another Code Red Air Quality Action Day in the Delmarva area. A Code Red means the air quality is unhealthy for all citizens, and health officials are recommending keeping outdoor activities to a minimum. Those who are elderly or sensitive to the smoke should consider staying inside altogether. Air quality is expected to gradually improve tomorrow, although unhealthy conditions for sensitive groups are still possible. By Sunday, additional wildfire smoke could move into the area, but thunderstorms are expected, and that should help reduce smoke concentrations. Several state leaders recently held a menstrual product drive to help Delaware women and girls in need. They collected nearly 11,000 menstrual products to support the Delaware Dignity Project. That's a Milton-based nonprofit that distributes period products to schools and shelters, healthcare providers, and other organizations statewide. The group is hoping to eventually collect and distribute more than 600,000 pads across the state, as menstrual products are not covered by federal assistance programs like SNAP. The Salisbury Skate Park will temporarily close near the end of next week. The city's field operations department will be performing necessary concrete repairs to multiple surfaces. It's all part of an ongoing effort to improve safety and extend the life of the park. That repair work is scheduled for next Thursday and Friday, July 23rd and 24th. The Salisbury Skate Park is expected to reopen on Saturday, the 25th. And Maryland Governor Wes Moore has announced $7.5 million in grants to fund 14 community-based healthcare projects. Those grants will support communities with high rates of childhood poverty with the goal of expanding healthcare access, reducing health disparities, and improving overall health equity. The projects are expected to help around 12,000 Maryland residents. For more on these and other stories, visit talkofdelmarva.com. I'm Stace Keene.
Craving wings? Head to Wings to Go Long Neck, where flavor meets freshness. Now featuring over 30 sauces and dry rubs. Enjoy traditional or boneless wings, always cooked to order, along with fresh salads and their popular soft shell wraps. Save room for dessert with new sweet treats like blueberry lemon cake, fried cheesecake, plum cake, and cream cheese churros. Conveniently located at 2598 Plaza Drive in Middlesboro. Open daily at 11 a.m. Call 302-947-9444.
Every project is personal. Visit ChesapeakeBath.com.
It's time for the Talk of Delmarva Fishing Report with Eric Burnley.
Thursday was not quite as hot as the smoke from Canada filtered out a bit of the sun. The fishing remained just about the same, with croaker and spot leading the parade, followed by a few keeper flounder. Steve at Smith Bait and Lift 6 said croaker were caught from the fishing pier at Woodland Beach and at Port Mahon on bloodworms and fish bites. Slot stripers were caught at the Augustine Wall on paler crab, bloodworms, and shrimp. A few slots and lots of croaker have been caught from Bowers Beach Jetty. Some keeper flounder were also caught there on jigs with minnows, squid strips, or twister tails. Hookham and Cookham reported a 63-pound cobia caught by Charlie Horning. Charlie did not register for a citation, so that is all the information I have. The headboats had flounder and sea bass from Ocean Structure. This is Eric Burnley with your Talk of Delmarva Fishing Report. Broadcasting from the Mikey Car Care Center studio. Your News Talk America on 92.7 WGSD. The Talk of Delmarva.
And a good Friday morning. Welcome to your News Talk America. Digital Interactive Friday is underway. I'm your anchorman, Jake Smith, sitting behind the shiny golden microphone. Mark Meckler, is this nice, a really nice shiny golden microphone like Rush used to have? You like that?
Yeah, I mean, it brings back very solid memories for sure.
That is why we've done it in honor of the great El Rushbo. Mark Meckler is joining us. We're so pleased to have Mark back on our panel. Mark, President and co-founder of the Convention of States Action. Mark, we're going to be talking about, what is really the Capitol Hill Club in just a few moments, but I want to ask your reaction to President Trump's address last night and what appears to be an actual coup d'etat that we actually have evidence that was perhaps the brainchild of the Chinese Communist Party, found willing participants inside the swamp itself. Your thoughts on what President Trump disclosed to the nation last night?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely incredible. You can tell how important it is by the way the leftist media is standing against it and, calling it all a fraud and lame. That tells you that we're right over the target. And I think one of the most interesting things to me, I'm a lawyer and I hear the term treason thrown about a lot, and I just don't think it generally applies. It's a very specific definition. In this case, I actually think it applies, and I think there are some people who are going to need to be charged with treason. I think there are CIA officers that are going to be charged with treason. I actually think this is the first time we're going to see real, serious prosecution.
I hope so, Mark, because I said in my monologue this morning that there were people who watched the speech last night or didn't watch it, ho-hum, been there, done that, heard that. Trump's talked about it a million times. This is old news. But there are people that should be outraged this morning and are not outraged this morning, and that worries me, Mark.
Yeah, look, I'm going to give you a very inside slice here, and
please.
Your viewers may not know this, but I am also the CEO of Just the Network, which is the parent company for Just the News. John Solomon is the reporter that discovered most of this stuff, or a lot of this stuff. He's actually been inside the White House as a special government employee for the last few weeks. He's helping with all of these disclosures and discoveries. So I actually know what's going on, and I know how serious it is. And I know that the White House is very serious, not just about exposing this stuff, but about prosecuting it.
Now, one of the things that you and I have talked about before is the 17th Amendment. It needs to be repealed. The founders knew what the United States Senate should be and how it should function. But it's not functioning that way anymore, and the 17th Amendment's the reason. Now, Mark, I'm sure you saw and watched the same AI videos about Mitch McConnell that I watched this week. They were hilarious. A couple times they almost wet my pants, for crying out loud. But the problem is they're true, showing people in hospital beds that are still in the United States Senate in the condition of Mitch McConnell. The age and condition of Mitch McConnell proves that once you go to the United States Senate, you're there for life, usually. What do you think?
Yeah, I saw an interesting statistic yesterday that since 2010, 23 members of the United States Congress have died while in office. That tells you we have a serious problem with people going there, and it's a forever tenure. It's very hard to throw out a sitting congressman or especially a sitting senator. It's done now and then. We just saw it with Rand Paul, but it is very rare. We need to make it a lot easier to throw them out. I do agree with you on the 17th Amendment. The direct election of senators broke our political system in a way that few other things have done. If we could repeal it, I would be in favor. That's sort of my magic wand amendment, is to repeal the 17th. I think that's going to be a tough one. I hate to say that because people are not likely to want to give their right to vote for their U.S. senator.
Even though, really, if you go to the polls and vote for your state representatives, in essence, you're voting for your United States senator prior to the 17th Amendment, Mark, right?
Yeah, I agree with that because they're the ones that would have selected that senator. Here's a compromise solution. Somebody in Nebraska suggested this to me, so I don't want to take credit for it, but I think it's brilliant, which is we should at least give the state legislatures the right of recall on U.S. senators.
Right.
The U.S. senator
Which they had before the 17th Amendment. Excuse me, they had that prior to the 17th Amendment, right.
Yeah, they just had the absolute right to appoint them and fire them, but I think that the American public would go for that one. Doing away with the right to vote for them, they probably wouldn't like. It's too much explanation, but if you just said, look, the senators get swampy before 6 years, we need to give your state the right to recall them, I think the vast majority of people would support that.
Mark, one of my listener producers brought up yesterday, Joe Biden was in office for 4 years, and we know all about the auto pen thing. But the fact that he was installed by the Chinese Communist Party, I don't think there's any doubt of that. What happens, even though the election was certified, and it was certified, what happens to every...
A lot of reasons it should amount to nothing. That is one of them, but I also think he clearly had dementia. I clearly think a lot of things were done by AutoPen without his knowledge. But the reality is, because I like to live in political reality, not theory, I don't think we're going to go back and undo any of that, no matter what they find out about the election, unfortunately.
One of my listener producers just pointed out the point that you made of term limits, and that is the hidden dangers of congressional-only term limits. Mark, tell us what you mean.
Look, I'm a fan of term limits on Congress, but not if it's only Congress. And the reason I say that is imagine a Congress where staffers are there for their entire career, 30 or 40 years, or bureaucrats are there for their entire careers, 30 or 40 years, and every 6 years or 10 years we term out senators and congressmen. What that means is those people that we think of and know of as the deep state now, they will just get more powerful and have more control. So the way to do it is to create a concurrent amendment limiting the terms of staffers and bureaucrats to whatever we limit congressmen to.
Is it your opinion that what we've experienced by way of the 2020 election and the Communist Chinese and the hacking of voter information, over 200 million Americans voter information, stealing the 2020 election, that this really happened because we lack term limits and of course for staffers as well in the legislative branch? What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think that's part of it because what happens is people end up with more loyalty to their party and then more loyalty to their position than they have to their country. Because they know they're going to be there, they're going to be there for their entire career, it's how they're going to enrich themselves and their family, so their self-interest diverges from the interest of the country.
You believe that this permanent seniority mark is actively damaging our country and why standard term limits will not solve the problem. Now, short of repeal of the 17th Amendment, you talked about the fact giving states rights to recall senators does give the voters the right to, have some accountability or generate at the state level some accountability of the United States Senate. Right now, the United States Senate has zero accountability. I mean, for Chuck Schumer, who was demanding witnesses and documents during the phony impeachment trial with regard to trying to put President Trump out of office from a phony impeachment, to calling President Trump a total liar, buffoon, out of his mind last night, there's zero accountability in the United States Senate. And I think that's what most Americans need to take away from what your position is right now with regard to term limits and term limits for staffers as well.
Yeah, I think that the framers well understood that the federal government was going to get out of control, and that's why they gave us the power to call a convention, and to propose amendments. They never believed that anybody would want to be in Washington, D.C. for their entire lifetimes because they understood it as public service. They also understood it as a very difficult thing to do. If you think about the time of the framers, the only way to get to Washington or the Capitol was horse and buggy or on foot. Now with air travel and all that, it's just too easy for folks to stay there forever.
Mark, I want to thank you. And I heard what John Solomon said the other day about he knew what President Trump's speech was last night. I'm glad John's there. John has the trust of the nation. And I think that that is important. Just before you go quickly, where are we now with regard to the Convention of States action? How many states have signed on thus far since the last time I've had you on?
20 out of the necessary 34. North Carolina is about to become the 21st, and I think we're also going to get Ohio here pretty quickly.
Wow, that is certainly good news. So the momentum certainly is on our side then, Mark, you feel?
Absolutely, and the White House is in full support.
Mark Meckler, president and co-founder of Convention of States Action. My friends, there's a link to conventionofstates.com right underneath Mark's name on my show notes this morning. Mark, great having you on. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you. God bless you, my friend.
All right, thank you. You're listening to Your News Talk America. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay with us.
Listen to your anchorman, Jake Smith, on Your News Talk America.
Clouds and sun tomorrow. Slight chance of thunderstorms. Highs around 93. 88 Sunday with a slight chance for storms. 86 Monday. Chance for storms continues. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Taco Del Marva Weather Center, inland. Right now, it's 84 degrees.
The Surf Report with Tim Ferry. Getting you ready for the weekend conditions this Friday after the 8 a.m. news here on 92.7 and 98.5 WGND. The Talk of Del Marva.
Meteorologist Jason Catarina with your KFC weekend weather update. Saturday will feature a mix of sun and clouds with a chance of a few thunderstorms in the afternoon. The high will reach 90 degrees. Introducing the KFC $10 bucket of the day deal. Now every weekday you get a different bucket of crispy, crunchy chicken for just $10 each. 24 nuggets, $10. 8 piece, $10. 10 wings, $10. 8 tenders, $10. Only at KFC. Prices and participation may vary while supplies last. Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm, and Chuck McDowell definitely not an attorney. This is Chuck. If someone talked you into buying something really silly and you want to get out of that silly little thing, my advice, get the facts. Call me and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit absolutely free. Inside, you'll learn how timeshare works and all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your free exit information kit. 800-909-9696. 800-909-9696.
When you're committed to doing things right, it shows. From the way you take care of your lawn to the pride you take in every pass. That's why Exmark builds mowers with a legendary quality of cut, dependability that lasts for generations, and an operator experience that makes mowing feel like anything but work. Because if it's worth doing, it's worth doing right. Head on over to Southern States Milford Co-op in Milford, Delaware, or visit MilfordSouthernStates.com to learn more.
Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMD. A Delmarva original and one of the country's most successfully owned independent radio stations, providing news, talk, and sports to the peninsula for over 40 years. 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva Fishing Report here on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD.
Cardair Center Studio is your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Listen, the premise from ICE is that they are shooting when their life is in imminent danger, and in that moment is not when you go, hey, the vehicle might run over me, but let me shoot the tires so there's not a riot or a protest. Ultimately, what we're dealing with right now after Midway Blitz especially, or actually Minneapolis especially, is there's a short leash for ICE and a short fuse for protesters to become rioters. And I think Mark Wayne Bowen knows that. He's trying to do things almost covertly, out of the headlines, and then something like this happens, and then a policy change happens. But you can't let the tail wag the dog.
No, that is true. And isn't it funny how ICE agents have accountability? The Demcoms, we demand accountability of ICE. We want to get rid of ICE. But we can't have accountability for those who concoct a theft of the 2020 election along with the Chinese Communist Party. Co-conspirators. So we have to hold ICE accountable, but we don't hold anyone else accountable who is responsible for a coup d'etat in 2020. That's what it comes down to. Now, Wolf posted in the Dial Lounge just moments ago, those who certify the election in the face of evidence of election fraud are certifiable subversive. Pence isn't worth a, farthing. That's fine. But Mike Pence knew that some of this was going on. I believe Mike Pence was the loose lips, the biggest loose lips in the White House during the first Trump administration. I really do believe that. Now, we're waiting for our next panelist to join us, Anna Giartelli, Homeland Security reporter at the Washington Examiner. But the situation with respect to ICE agents, and we know that those who are protesting, those who are pushing back against ICE enforcement are being paid, and that pushback is being coordinated from elsewhere, and that's what we have to be aware of, my friends. People deporting them day and night, and I made that promise. I was elected based on that promise, and I have to do that, and that's exactly what President Trump told the DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen. Now, I want to welcome back to the panel. She's been with us a number of times before. Anna Giartelli is joining us. Anna is Homeland Security reporter for the Washington Examiner. Anna, I remember you are based in Texas, right?
I was based in Texas during the Biden years, but I'm now based close to where ICE trains in Brunswick, Georgia.
Oh, wow. Okay. All right. Very good. I thought you were still in Texas last time I spoke with you. You were in the great state of Texas. Your thoughts on the two shootings this week, one in Houston, the other one in Maine, with ICE officers who felt their lives were in danger. And then, of course, President Trump overruling DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen. How do you see this?
Yeah, Mullen has had a few months to get his feet under him and figure out how he's going to operate differently than Secretary Kristi Noem. I think what we're seeing right now is not so much Mullen's leadership issue, but comes down to when I spoke with ICE officers in the field this week. They're saying we're exhausted. We get no breaks. We have to work more than 8 hours every day. We work weekends. We have vacations canceled. One of them was saying in the Dallas field office facility that was shot up last year, they still haven't repaired the window. And so, the anecdotes were shocking about the thanklessness they get, saying the administration just keeps pushing them harder and is never satisfied with anything, and they're beating themselves, bloody.
Wow! So they're feeling overworked at this point, and that's not good.
And because they were overworked last summer.
Yeah.
So now they're saying these shootings, it's sort of, two of them said to me, it's a perfect storm. All these different things, trainees coming out of the academy, not doing the full academy like, these other guys did 5, 10, 15 years ago.
So they're being rushed. You're saying they're being rushed out of the academy and pushed out in the field.
And that was the incident in Maine. The man there he called his ex-wife saying, cover for me, tell him, I'm not. And he had a history of violent behavior, anger. And so I think it's coming into question now where, we want to look at whether is it Mullen's fault, is it Trump's fault, is it Homan's fault, who's, what? But it really comes down to these officers are so exhausted, not just physically. This is such an emotional, mental job. When I was in Minnesota in January, just being around protesters, and I don't want to say protesters, these were,
thugs. They were thugs.
It was very intense agitation, just being around it. And, so.
Well, I remember after 9/11, and I lived in New York at the time.
I did too.
Police officers, even in my neighborhood, New York City police officers that lived in my neighborhood, there were some marital disputes going on. There were all sorts of things. They were just pushed to the max, and they were at the breaking point. And that's what you're saying that might be going on right now in ICE. And is that exactly what the Democrats want? Do they want these incidents to occur so that they can continue with their plans to defund ICE, or at least slow down the deportation of illegals in this country? What do you think?
I think that's a really good point. Certainly, whatever happens, Democrats are going to use it to their benefit. And if ICE is quiet behind the scenes, as they were from February, arrests went down, but really ticked back up quickly in March, April, May, June. June was the highest month we've ever seen for ICE arrests. If they're doing that, but quietly, it's all good, right? It's when you get into these very confrontational situations, you hear about a shooting. There was the Houston shooting, okay, it kind of died down after a few days, not as much tension. And then there was the Maine shooting. And then there was the fatal encounter in Florida in St. Augustine. And that's what drills up more and more attention. So really the administration is in a place where it needs to consider how it moves forward, because Democrats are certainly going to, as either party would, take advantage of the situation, message based on it, and use it to as we've seen from the far left, vilify ICE as and maybe with some reason, if they're putting people on the street that aren't adequately trained, we do need to look at things and make sure, ICE should be as prestigious of a law enforcement agency and respected as the NYPD. So.
No, I would agree. And every law enforcement agency, as you know, in this country has a pursuit policy. It's a written policy. Officers are trained in that policy when they go through the academy. And any changes to that policy have to come directly from the chief of police. Some police departments do not allow any pursuit at all. They have very strict limits on pursuit because of the possibility that innocent people might get harmed. So, Anna, I said at the outset that I didn't have a problem taking a break if it meant that, and as far as I asked an expert from the Heritage Foundation who was on with us the other day, does ICE have, or Department of Homeland Security, have a pursuit policy? Well, guess what? They don't.
So, I just spoke with someone before we came on, a former senior ICE official, not even 5 minutes ago, and he said, Anna, I'm still trying to get the policy, there is none. So how can DHS even claim that they're changing, traffic stops and such when there is no policy guiding any of that?
Right, it's whatever the situation calls for at the time, and you hope that those ICE officers have been properly trained, that they know what to do, but you can't assume that, right?
No, you hope that they should be trained to know what to do. I'll tell you, Border Patrol has policy that put into place early on in the Biden administration because they recognized smugglers, when they would try to get away, they would purposely go through school areas, knowing that Border Patrol had to call off the pursuit, and that's how they would lose them. And so in this type of situation, we're seeing the same sort of, really the lack of policy.
Anna, as much as we want to make America's streets safe, and we want to deport those who are the most dangerous first of the illegals that are in this country, we can't put American citizens at risk. And the fact of the matter is, I would hope that Secretary Mullen will at least, he has a lot of good people working with him. Let's address this pursuit policy and get a policy written on the books and train our people with it. It's not that difficult as long as they know what the rules are, what they are allowed to do and what they're not permitted to do, right?
Yeah, I think that's the very first step.
Anna G. Artelli, Homeland Security reporter, Washington Examiner. Anna, thank you so much. You gave us a lot of useful information here. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, have a great day. You're listening to Your News Talk America, my friends. That is shocking. But the fact of the matter is, I know the president wants to get these people out. He promised that he would, but the department, it appears, is overworked, and they don't have the proper regulations. They don't have the proper restrictions in place right now. We'll talk about that more next week on Your News Talk America. Coming up in the next part of Your News Talk America, our good friend Joe Hoft is going to join us to talk about the theft of the 2020 election and why he, in 3 volumes of his books, The Steal, Volume 1, 2, and 3, laid out how China did it. That's coming up next. Stay with us.
Mostly sunny for today with a widespread smoke and highs top out near 81 degrees. And on the water, east-northeast winds 5 to 10 knots, seas around 2 feet. The current water temperature is 76 degrees. At Cambridge, high tide 6:54 a.m., low tide 1:52 p.m., high tide 7:22 p.m., and at Rehoboth Beach, high tide 10:46 a.m., low tide 4:46 p.m., high tide 11:11 p.m. I'm Phil Jensko.
The best mix of news, talk, and sports. 92.7 and 98.5. The Talk of Delmarva. News on the hour on WGMD. This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report. Stocks opened sharply lower. However, Apple topped Nvidia today to become the world's most valuable company. Though Apple shares are flat, Nvidia shares are down more than 3%, part of the continuing chip sell-off. Investors are fearing the tech run-up in stocks on the artificial intelligence build-up was overdone. Netflix disappointed investors by pulling back on some updates. Its recent quarter was mixed, and Netflix shares are down 11%. Fifth Third Bancorp reported an upbeat quarter after it merged with Comerica, though the stock opened down 3%. Travelers shares are up 5.4%. Travelers had a much better quarter than a year ago when the insurer was dealing with claims for the Los Angeles wildfires. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jim Coselda. Invested in you.
I'm David Ortiz. When I lost my mom, she was only 46, and I lost my dad to cancer. It was the worst pain I ever felt. It made me think, what will happen to the people I love when my time is up? That's why I have life insurance. Ethos makes it easy. It's all online, take about 10 minutes, and you can get up to $3 million in coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Big testimonial. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required. Broadcasting from the Carter Center Studio is your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues from DS2. Your anchorman sitting behind the golden microphone. There it is, my friends. Isn't it beautiful? Yes, it is. My friends, back in 2021, following the theft of the 2020 election, my good friend Joe Hoft released 3 editions of this book, The Steal. Volumes 1, Volumes 2, and Volume 3. And the fact of the matter is, we didn't really at the time understand how serious this problem is. I think we understood last night. And I want to just read to you a passage that Joe wrote, and it's in page 41. It was clear that China wanted Joe Biden to win the 2020 election for president. In July 2020, China released a video attacking President Trump and leveraging the coronavirus to its benefit. In August, corrupt House Speaker Nancy Pelosi admitted on CNN that China would prefer to have Joe Biden as president in place of President Trump. What a surprise. Pelosi then claimed that Russia was a worse threat to the United States than China, which is garbage, something that China no doubt appreciated very much. It is not known if China gave actual money in donations to the Biden camp during the campaign season, but there were indications that this may have been the case. During the campaign, the Biden gang refused to release a list of entities that donated to Biden's charities. How about that? My friends, The Steal, Volumes 1, 2, and 3, authored by my good friend Joe Hoft, joehoft.com. My friend, thanks so much for coming on this morning. Even in Volume 1, you laid out how the Chinese were able to, really, for all intents and purposes, pull off a coup d'etat with help of those inside the U.S. government. How are you, Joe?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I'm amazed by that. I haven't gone back and read that in a while, and it just blows me away that I actually had that in there. I mean, I was on a roll, I guess. Another thing, my first chapter was about the deep state, basically. Yep. So, and that's what Trump covered last night: deep state in China. I think they maybe worked in tandem, for that matter, or with a consortium of groups like with the World Economic Forum and others, EU. To take out Trump. Nobody wanted Trump because we're seeing what he's doing right now. He's destroying the national order and making the world a peaceful place, and they don't want that.
Well, he made life very difficult for the Chi-Coms. But surprised.
Yeah, there's so much that needs to be investigated, and really we need some accountability for all of this. But it's just piles of it. I guess President Trump last night overall was it 10 million pages that have been released now?
Yeah, I tried to go through it this morning, Joe, and I have to download a special software package to go through the files. I'm like, I don't have time for this morning.
Yeah, it's amazing. And I've heard the White House .org was .gov was shut down last night.
Most Americans doubt any American co-conspirators will be punished. And I was just reading a post by President Trump moments ago on Truth Social, where he said that the reflective pool will have been drained. They're fixing the damage that was done by vandals, and he wants them prosecuted to the fullest extent. Joe, this is a coup d'etat that members of the United States government, employees of the United States government that we pay for with our tax dollars, conspired with our most dangerous enemy, China, to change the results of the election in 2020. No one from the Russia hoax on down, no one has been punished. And yet President Trump wants maximum punishment for whomever vandalized the reflection pool. Americans don't believe, Joe, in this day and age, that the bad guys go to prison.
You're absolutely right, because they haven't. And
right.
So that's the big elephant in the living room. Is anybody going to be indicted and brought to justice? We've got Joe DeGeneva down here in Florida, in St. Lucie County at Fort Pierce, working on stuff, and a lot of people trust him, myself included.
Oh, I trust him as well. Yeah.
So, but we just got to give him, unfortunately, I guess more time but we got to start indicting people. This is just ridiculous. And I'm with you in that if a person in authority, somebody that we've given a tremendous amount of power to, somebody that's like the head of the FBI or the head of the DOJ or the head of the CIA, whatever it might be, and any people that work for them, if they commit crimes, if they withhold information from the president that's pertinent. I heard John Solomon last night say there was like 39 issues maybe with China, and 5 made it to the president. So they're withholding information from the president. I think.
Wait a minute, Joe. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff called the Chinese and told them, "Don't worry. If President Trump launches an attack, we won't let him do it." He did that.
Yeah,
right?
You're right. Great point. These people need to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law.
Yeah.
No, we put so much, trust in these people. When they break it, it breaks the whole system. And they need to be punished absolutely severely to the fullest extent. And I felt that way from the beginning. And instead, they've been going about it opposite. So when there was conflicts of interest that we knew were in place between Comey and Mueller, for example, they're best friends. And Mueller gets elected or appointed the head of that Mueller examination. That was a conflict of interest that never should have occurred in the corporate world.
And then, Joe, let's try to interrupt you. And then Andrew Weissman gets inserted into the fray. Under
Yes,
Mullen.
gross. The whole team, I remember looking at the whole team of Weissmans, and everybody had a conflict of interest. And that's how I knew this thing's a scam, it's a fraud, it's a
Right.
sham, it's a lie. Because in the corporate world, I've done this in a department. We had a lady in Australia, her husband was being offered a position, and eventually he wasn't given it because the audit team said, we cannot have an auditor that's going to be auditing a department that her husband would be in. And that's how strict it is in the real world. In the DOJ
government.
under Biden, it's a sham. It's just shocking how bad it is when you put it in perspective of the real world, And that's what's happening here. And we talked about this last night, Jake, with China, going back to that. There was every reason that China wanted to get rid of Trump. And it was because he was crushing them economically.
Yes, he was.
And then comes COVID. It's leaked out of Wuhan lab. We don't know to this day. Two big questions. Was it intentional? And who was totally involved in that?
Joe, we talked
leak?
about 6 years ago when you released the steel. We both believed at the time that it was intentional to destabilize this nation, and it did.
Sure. Yeah, and who was behind it? Was it China only? The U.S. only, because we had our fingerprints all over that Wuhan lab too, or a combination of both. We don't really even know the answer to that yet. But there was every reason that China do it because China, and quite frankly, China owes the U.S. million voter roll records that they had access to or had actually in their possession. That's a crime. That's not a small deal. That's the biggest data breach in U.S. history. And yes, they did a lot more with it than this lying snake of an ugly man, Senator Warner from Virginia.
He is
says.
despicable.
He is. And he's saying, oh, no big deal. No, it's a huge deal. Stop lying to the American people. They took this data and they used it. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Another big area, I just put a piece up at joehoff.com.
Okay.
In California, we've estimated two different studies that around 20% or 4 million people in records on their voter rolls are illegals. They're not legit.
Yeah, well, 278,000 illegals are on voter rolls in this country. I asked a question of my listeners during the monologue, Joe. Do you think that the Demcoms, blue states, do you think that they are going to allow the Department of Justice to audit their voter rolls? No chance. They want those illegals in this country. They want them counted in the census, and they want them to vote.
You're right, and that's why we've got 4 million in California alone. 3.8 million, 4 million people on their voter rolls that are garbage based on two studies that we've done. That's why the Dems won't show it. It's the only way they can win is through fraud and stealing stuff because nobody's buying their policies. It's America destroying policies. We don't want that. We want to make America better, great again, whatever you want to call it. We want this safe for our children, and nobody's voting for their garbage.
Our good friend Joe Hoft is joining us, author of Steel, Volumes 1, 2, and 3. I'm just trying to make sure the camera gets it there. Joe, there it is. That's Volume 1. I've got the other two volumes sitting in my bookcase in my office. Volumes 1, 2, and 3. Joe Hoft is the author of The Steel. Joe, one of my listener producers posted a question for a guest earlier, and I'm going to ask you the same question because I think this is important. And it comes from our listener producer, Wolf. Should President Trump declare a state of cybersecurity emergency? Never before done, but I think in this day and age, based on the fact that Joe Biden spent 4 years in office that he didn't earn. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that's not a bad idea at all. And people are actually calling for even something more broad, a state of national emergency. And I don't think that's a bad idea. We cannot continue to be lulled to sleep by snakes like Senator Warner, and that this is no big deal. This is a huge deal. And that's why our numbers are growing. Americans, 80% want this SAVE Act passed. It's like we want free and fair elections. This isn't just a conservative deal. This is a Democrat deal. 80% of the Dems or whatever it is, 60% want free and fair elections. We all do. And so, this is a big deal, and we're way on it. I don't think people should be shocked with the, recommendations like that, or a recommendation of just, hey, let's go back to paper ballots. Let's just do it like Italy and
That's right,
France does it,
yep.
and just get it done. Just do a legitimate election. If it takes an extra time, add an extra day. Whatever. But let's get this fixed so that
Joe,
we
the
can.
Demcoms don't want paper ballots because
No,
they've
they
used these
don't.
electronic voting machines to change the country,
right.
as Obama promised. That's
right?
it.
And they don't want people coming in and being forced to provide evidence that they're a U.S. citizen either.
Absolutely.
And because that's 20% of their vote in California. This is why you get people like Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Maxine Waters, Swalwell. The list goes on. These lunatics in that, and that's exactly what China wants. Think about it. That's exactly what our enemies want. Our idiot, corrupt snakes like these people in California that are in our government. They're not voting for us. They're not voting for America. They're doing whatever these people that pay them tell them to do. It's and so we got to fix that. Our Congress is broke because of this. Our judiciary is broke. Our judges, everything's broke because of this.
Absolutely,
It all
Joe.
lands
The
with this.
Republic has been destabilized because of this. That's what I believe.
Absolutely, and we were blessed. We had a miracle come along with Trump, and literally we saw it on TV about 2 years ago to the day when he stands up after having blood coming down his face. President Trump saying, "Fight, fight, fight." The most really poetic and maybe historic 3 words in world history, let alone U.S. history. And we were blessed. We all knew that was a miracle, and that's what we got right now is a short reprieve, but now it's time to fight like crazy to get this stuff done. So thanks for sharing about my books. I put a lot of work into it.
Joe,
President Trump complimented me on them. Roger Stone said, "Joe, your books are going to go down as classics." And I looked back and I put a post up about them recently. We had all 3 books, volumes 1, 2, and 3 were number 1 in the elections category at Amazon, bestsellers. And, it's really great to look back at all the success these had because people care. They care about this country. And it ultimately comes down, we want the right people, the people we vote for to be in office, and we don't have that right now. We need to fix that.
Joe, final question for you, and this comes from our listener producer Wolf as well. What role did Iran play in interference with U.S. elections? We know that Iran had some role in the 2020 election. What did your research show about Tehran and the role that they played in all of this, Joe?
Yeah, I don't have a lot on that. My brother Jim came up with something at Gateway Pundit, reminded people of a piece that he'd found back shortly after the 2020 election. Just this week, he put it up, and it was a reminder of what we'd found right after the election. China, Venezuela, Iran, any deep state, anybody that wants to destroy this country was doing what they could to mess with our elections.
And they did. Joe Hoft, the author of The Steal, volumes 1, 2, and 3. My friends, keep up to date on what's going on around the world and around the country. In joehoft.com, there's a link directly to Joe's site right on my show notes this morning. Joe had a couple of months ago had a stroke, and he's been recovering. And Joe, I'm so glad to see you and so pleased that you're looking so healthy and sounding so good.
Thanks, man. I like your beard, by the way. It looks good.
Thank you. Say goodbye. Say hello to your brother when you talk to him, and I'm going to say goodbye to you, Joe. Joe, God bless you. Thanks for coming on.
God
All right,
bless.
you too.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to Your News Talk America. You're watching Your News Talk America live from DS2. Back in just a moment to talk about reconciliation. Again, here it comes.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times today, with daytime highs approaching 89. Northeasterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies again tonight. Lows dip down to about 73. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times tomorrow. Slight chance of thunderstorms. High temperatures reach up to 93. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center along the coast. Currently, it's 82 degrees.
MJ Powell, weekdays 3 to 6, here on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMT. Takes
Smith, mid-mornings on WGMD.
Selling your home, the only thing more expensive than working with a professional is working with an amateur. That's exactly why I've partnered with realestateoptionsnow.com. These agents, on average, sell hundreds of homes every single year. They can help find out how much your home is worth today in the current market you live in and find out what's right for you. Just go to realestateoptionsnow.com. You'll see my picture, and right above it, click on the tab and fill out the form. Go to realestateoptionsnow.com and get the money your home is truly worth.
My name is Whitney Allen, and I'm a widow. My husband Ryan died. We never thought we'd ever have to use life insurance, but the unexpected happened. With Ethos, signing up was fast and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exams, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. I'm grateful we were prepared.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/term. That's ethos.com/term. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Hey, Delaware, we care. This is Steve Bell from Bell House Medical in Lewis, Delaware. If you need a scooter, if you need a power chair, if you need something that's going to help you mobilize and get around the house or out of the house and you're not able to walk and you need something with a motor, easy to charge, easy to take with you, we have Pride scooters and power chairs. Come take a test drive on the scooters. Pride mobility scooters are the best in the industry. They're dependable. Bell House Medical in Lewis, Delaware is open on Monday through Friday, 9 to 4 p.m. On Saturdays, only by appointment.
First Light Delmarva with Mike Bradley. A weekday morning magazine beginning at 5 with local and national news, traffic, weather, ag report, business news, and sports. Starting your day in the know on 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD. Mike Bradley and the WGMD morning team is up well before the crack of dawn to deliver you all the latest news and pertinent information to start your day. Beginning at 5 a.m. weekdays here on 92.7 WGMD, Delmarva's news, talk, and sports station.
Broadcasting from the Monty Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday, streaming video live at realnewstalk.com and Facebook Live as well. Your anchorman, Jake Smith, firmly and securely positioned behind the golden microphone here in DS2. My friends, we're waiting for our next panelist not in Green Room yet, so we will wait for Brittany Madney, and hopefully she'll be joining us in just a moment. One of the comments made by producer Dan was about Woodrow Wilson, and Wolf followed up his comment and talked about that's why we need to de-Wilsonize America. I'm not sure at this point it is possible, Dan and Wolf, to de-Wilsonize America. I mean, the Fed, you really think the Fed's going anywhere? Woodrow Wilson really set this country off in a far different direction than the founders had anticipated or had planned for us to be. There's no question that Woodrow Wilson is the bad guy here. As a matter of fact, Judge Napolitano, who's vacationing in Italy right now, he and I have been texting, but he's due back next Thursday on the program. And if you talk about someone that Judge Napolitano has not a lot of nice things to say about, is Woodrow Wilson, and he feels that he put our constitutional protections at risk and changed this country in a way that it's still negatively affected today. And we know that Woodrow Wilson, like the old plugster Joe Biden, was incapacitated as president in the White House, and someone else, his wife actually, was running the country. So those are the comparisons between Wilson and Joe Biden. Now, when it comes to Obamacare, my friends, no one knows more about Obamacare than our next panelist. She's smiling because whenever we get an Obamacare issue, we bring back to the panel Brittany Madney, Executive Vice President of the Economic Policy Innovation Center. Ms. Madney served as a congressional aide and trusted senior advisor for a decade on Capitol Hill, and she's still with us, so that's a good thing that she made it through. Developing a nuanced understanding of the legislative process with an emphasis on budget and appropriation strategy. And with that, we welcome back Brittany Madney. Brittany, it's great to have you back. How are you?
It's so good to be here, although, as usual, I wish I was anywhere but Washington, D.C. these days. Between the heat and the drama on Capitol Hill, it's something else.
It is a mess. Congress is broken, Brittany, and I don't know how elections fix that. I really don't, because of the power of the incumbency.
I hear you, and I think it's a valid frustration for so many Americans around the country right now. Another source of frustration is that the House Budget Committee just passed out of markup a resolution that will make the debt and deficits even higher without any offsets. So there's just a disconnect right now between what's happening in Washington and where the American people are.
So, budget reconciliation. Can you explain to us what budget reconciliation is and what this current budget reconciliation bill includes?
I'm certainly happy to do so. So, in layman's terms, the budget resolution is needed to unlock a reconciliation process. And I apologize in advance. You know I'm going to get a little wonky on you here. But
No, that's Brittany. That's fine. You get wonky on us. We're fine with it. Go ahead.
Good. Well, when you unlock the budget reconciliation process, the reason that's so important is it's a fast track process in the Senate. So you can bypass that 60 vote filibuster threshold that the Democrats are using to block President Trump's agenda. So you reduce that down to a simple majority. In order to get there, though, you have to first pass a budget. And as you know, we're in a very difficult, tenuous budget situation right now. And passing a budget that's loaded with more spending in order to advance our priorities, sort of as a trade-off, is not necessarily the best move. That being said, Republicans, especially the president, they are in a very difficult place due to Democrat obstruction.
Now, there were some budget hawks who pushed back against this yesterday. Let's see, fiscal hawks. House Budget Chair Jody Arrington of Texas, Republican, tried to quell concerns from within his party about a lack of offsets required within the budget resolution by pointing to executive branch action. He says that President Trump declared a war on fraud and the whole thing has kind of gone by the wayside. What do you say?
You know where I stand on this already. There is always more that should be done to address waste, fraud, and abuse across the federal government. The budget resolution that was passed out of the House yesterday was about $95 billion in more spending for particular priorities underneath the budget reconciliation instructions. So that's just for reconciliation for this fast track process. Now, I'm not saying that those priorities aren't important. They include, things like the Save America Act to support election integrity. That's absolutely important. The question is, could that also have been paired with savings, making serious cuts to stop waste, fraud, and abuse?
Brittany, in the moments we have remaining here, and the computer's going to cut us off, unfortunately. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you.
And 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the talk of Delmarva, WGMD.
Earlier this year, taking out roads and bridges and a key Iranian surveillance tower. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's what the U.S. military did overnight, trying to stop Iran from trying to control Strait of Hormuz shipping.
The strikes are gaining intensity. A 6th round of airstrikes focused on bridges. Bandar Kamir, Bandar Abbas both saw road bridges and rail bridges destroyed, all of it disrupting the ability of the Iranians to resupply and threaten shipping in the strait. Khabakar is a port town operated by both India and Iran. That town, the strikes focus on a tower that was used to oversee the port operations there. Now, for the first time, Iran has acknowledged that strikes are taking a toll on the power grid. Residents to the south of the country have been urged to scale back on electricity consumption.
That's Fox's Mike Tobin in Tel Aviv. Oil prices keep rising back up another 3% to a one-month high. Price at the gas pump has spiked back up 9 cents the last 2 days. There are still flash flood warnings, advisories in South Texas after more than 2 feet of rain set rivers and creeks soaring. 2 people were killed and vehicles swept away. Canadian wildfire smoke keeps blanketing and hanging over a lot of the U.S. Unhealthy air quality alerts. North Dakota to North Carolina. Fox Weather's Katie Burns in smoky, hazy Cleveland.
A lot of people I'm talking to say they're cutting back on time outside. Others are putting masks back on before they head out the door. Health officials are warning that the fine particles in this smoke can travel deep into the lungs, making it especially dangerous for kids, older adults, and people with asthma or other breathing conditions.
Scientists may have found what gave thousands of people a parasite that led to a nasty stomach bug and diarrhea in a cyclosporiasis outbreak.
The CDC is now publicly connecting Taco Bell and that lettuce possibly grown in Mexico. Taco Bell restaurants in at least 5 different states: Indiana, Kentucky, Michigan, Ohio, and West Virginia.
And Michigan has the most cases, more than 4,000. In Ohio, a man who got sick with the parasite is suing Taco Bell. America's listening to Fox News.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, those words weren't written for the history books, they were written for you. But it's hard to pursue happiness when pain is part of everyday life. Relief Factor was created to help people address inflammation, one of the most common causes of ongoing aches and pains from aging, overexertion, daily living. It's a 100% drug-free, research-based formula that works through multiple metabolic pathways to support comfort and mobility. No prescriptions, no masking symptoms, just real relief so you can keep moving forward. No back pain for me anymore, thanks to my Relief Factor. As America celebrates 250 years of independence, give yourself the chance to reclaim yours. To commemorate, they're offering a special patriotic price, just $17.76, so you can pursue your happiness being pain-free. Your $17.76 3-week quick start is ready for you. Visit Relief Factor because freedom just feels better without pain. Visit ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, or call 800-4-RELIEF.
Delaware is still under a Code Red Air Quality Action Day today as Canadian wildfires continue to impact the state. Health officials say lingering smoke will lead to unhealthy levels of fine particle pollution. Air quality is expected to gradually improve tomorrow, though unhealthy conditions for sensitive groups are still possible. There could also be additional wildfire smoke moving back into Delaware on Sunday. Residents are once again cautioned to limit time outdoors and to take steps to protect yourself. Meanwhile, Maryland is also under a Code Red air quality alert today, with some areas of the state reaching Code Purple. Governor Wes Moore has announced that liberal leave is available for non-emergency essential employees who work outside. The Maryland Department of Health is advising residents to follow the Clean Air Partners Air Quality Action Guide to reduce the harmful effects of polluted air. Gas prices are inching higher again today. According to AAA, the average price for a gallon of gas in Sussex County is $3.95. That's 10 cents higher than a week ago and 18 cents higher than a month ago. We are, however, 3 cents lower than the national average of $3.98. The average price for the state of Delaware is $3.94. Meanwhile, gas in Worcester County is $3.96 a gallon and $3.94 a gallon in Wicomico County. A new historical marker will be unveiled today in Sussex County. The Delaware Public Archives will recognize Greenwood School 222C in Greenwood. Built in 1922, the school provided elementary education for African American children during the segregation era. Community members are invited to the free event this afternoon at 1. It'll be held at 12655 North 1st Street in Greenwood, which is also the headquarters of New Process Fiber Company. More details can be found on the State of Delaware website. To find out more about these and other stories, be sure to visit our website, talkofdelmarva.com. I'm Dave Spencer in the Talk of Delmarva newsroom.
Craving wings? Head to Wings to Go Long Neck, where flavor meets freshness. Now featuring over 30 sauces and dry rubs. Enjoy traditional or boneless wings, always cooked to order, along with fresh salads and their popular soft shell crabs. Save room for dessert with new sweet treats like blueberry lemon cake, fried cheesecake, funnel cake, and cream cheese churros. Conveniently located at 25938 Plaza Drive in Millsboro. Open daily at 11 a.m. Call 302-947-9444 or order on DoorDash. Wings to Go Long Neck. Simply great wings since 1985.
Broadcasting from the Mike G. Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday with your anchorman, Jake Smith, with you until noon. That is Eastern Time, of course. And perhaps we might actually get rid of standard time and stay on daylight savings time for the entire year. How does that sound to you? My friends, waiting for our good friend John O'Connor to join us from the Bay Area in the People's Republic of California. And hopefully he'll be joining us momentarily. But it was very interesting to see, and certainly where I'm broadcasting from right now in the Mid-Atlantic, on Delmarva yesterday, the smoke coming down from Canada, which makes it difficult for some of us to breathe. I'm an asthmatic myself, and I've got to be very careful. You know, we keep our emergency inhalers very close by on days like this. But New York had been experiencing, up in the New York area, in the Northeast, a couple of days before we actually started experiencing yesterday here. Fortunately, by late afternoon, the air had cleared out somewhat, but I'd like to bring up this point that for years, the commies up in Canada used to blame us for their acid rain. So why can't they keep their air up there? Is that a fair point? Why are we getting their pollution down here? Now I realize there's fires, forest fires, and so forth. This happened last year. Getting from the control room. Canada should pay reparations for not handling their fire. The Chinese probably are starting. Yeah, that is a fair point. So waiting for John O'Connor to join us, and when he does, we will talk about what's going on in the People's Republic of California. Now, in Newsomville, you may be interested and not surprised to hear that if you put your garbage out in a can at the street, that California is going to send an inspector to take a look and sift through your garbage, your trash, your rubbish, as they say in the UK, because they want to see if you're violating California clean air standards, which will add to methane gas and, of course, then greenhouse gases. So how do you feel about the government inspecting your garbage? Do they need a search warrant for that? I don't know. That is that's something we're probably going to have to ask Dr. Murray Sabrin coming up. Although we could ask John O'Connor if John's going to join us. And what we'll do right now, as we're waiting for him to join us, we'll take a break on Your News Talk America. We'll step away, and then we'll be back here. And hopefully at that time we will have John O'Connor joining us on Your News Talk America. Please stay with us.
Jake Smith on Your News Talk America. Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. Partly cloudy today with daytime highs approaching 89. Northeast winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Partly cloudy skies tonight. Lows level off around 73. A mix of clouds and sun tomorrow. Slight chance of thunderstorms. Highs around 93. 88 Sunday with a slight chance for storms. 86 Monday. Chance for storms continues. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Currently 86.
The Rita Cosby Show, weeknights at 10 on WGMD's 98.5. You're listening to WGMD.
The 11 a.m. Wellness Minute is locally brought to you by PAM Health Rehabilitation Hospitals. Recovery doesn't end when the hospital stay does. That's why PAM Health offers specialized support groups for individuals recovering from stroke, brain injury, or amputation, and for the families who walk that journey beside them. Their support groups offer a strong, understanding community, both in person and virtually, where you can share experiences, ask questions, and receive real support and advice from those who've been there. As one member said, the doctors and therapists helped me recover my body. The support group helped me recover myself. To learn more, visit pamhealth.com. That's pamhealth.com.
If you're thinking about retiring soon, be sure to tune in to Wise Money with Michael Anderson of Anderson Wealth Management every Saturday morning at 9. Michael Anderson talks about the latest trends, the latest headlines that could impact your retirement. So again, listen Saturday mornings at 9 to Wise Money with Michael Anderson of Anderson Wealth Management. Michael Anderson, registered investment advisors, doing business as Anderson Wealth Management, is a registered investment advisor.
Views and opinions expressed are those of the hosts, callers, and guests, and not necessarily the staff, management, ownership, advertisers, or sponsors of WGMD. Here's how to listen to WGMD's 98.5 on your electronic device. Simply say, Alexa, open Talk of Delmarva Seaford, and you'll hear all your favorite programming from 98.5, the Talk of Delmarva, on air, online, and streaming. 92.7 and 98.5 WGMD, where the news comes first. Get the WGMD app online today.
Broadcasting from the Montague Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday continues. I actually reached John O'Connor by phone. And John admitted he forgot to write it on his calendar that he was on with me this morning. So he will be joining us in just a moment. So while we wait for John to join us, he's got to go into the green room and get all his microphone and camera checked and all that kind of stuff. But while he does that, let me just tell you what's coming up following John O'Connor's segment. And we're going to be talking more about what's going on in Iran. And my friends, Operation Epic Fury is back underway again, even though the administration is not calling it that. And I realize they're not calling it that because they don't want the Demcoms on Capitol Hill to start claiming that the president has to comply with the War Powers Act. That being said, we're going to welcome in the next segment Ryan Morgan, Pentagon and military reporter for the Epoch Times. Also, these attacks, both from the U.S. and the retaliatory attacks on the part of the Iranians, who are firing missiles into neighboring Gulf states, their neighbors, and doing damage to the infrastructure, especially energy infrastructure and ocean desalinization plants, which take salt water and convert them into drinking water and so forth. Brigham A. McGowan is joining us, U.S. Navy retired senior fellow, Director Initiative on American Energy Security at the Hudson Institute. They will join us next. Joining us now, though, is our good friend John O'Connor. John served as an assistant U.S. attorney in Northern California, representing the United States in both criminal and civil cases. He is the nation's foremost expert on the Watergate scandal and wrote an interesting opinion piece on what the Washington Compost has done and what they're guilty of, and why the CIA both conspired to remove Richard Nixon from office. John is the expert on the Watergate scandal. John, you wrote an opinion piece about it, but before we talk about that, I've been teasing the fact that in the People's Republic of California, the government is going to be inspecting your trash at the street to see if you've been complying with the requirements. What do you think about that, my friend?
Well, it's typical. It's going to cause, you think about all the energy is going to be spent. It's all about recycling and how we have to make sure that we get not too many organics in the recycling bin. And of course, organics, I thought were good, but we're going to spend an awful lot of energy making sure we have our little plastic bags out of the garbage so we can recycle them. Now, how do you recycle them, Jake? You recycle them by using a lot of fossil fuel to put them through the recycling machine. So seriously, the studies are that it takes far more fossil fuel to recycle than it does if you just put it in the trash. But anyway, that's
John, I have to tell you that the EU requires people to do the same thing. I remember one time Nancy and I, we were in Scotland on vacation, and we were at a friend's house. We were making breakfast, and I cracked open an egg, and I threw the egg in the trash. Don't do that. You can't do that. You've got to recycle that eggshell. I'll get in trouble. I'll get fined. And now you've got it in California. However, John, you wrote two of the most important history books on the Watergate scandal. Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and began today's partisan advocacy journalism and the book sequel, The Mysteries of Watergate, What Really Happened. You laid out for us the Washington Post's role in the removal, the coup against Richard Nixon in 1972-73. And I'm wondering how the CIA figures into the removal of Richard Nixon from office. You wrote an interesting opinion piece. I know that you've been writing quite frequently these opinion pieces that I see, and I give you credit for that. But tell us why you think the CIA also has something to do with the removal of Richard Nixon from office in 1974.
Well, there's no doubt, Jake, but that the CIA had infiltrated the White House. That's very clear, although people won't publicize it. There's abundant evidence that Howard Hunt, the White House consultant, was really planted there by the CIA, offering to help on projects. They thought, they had this great guy to help on political projects. Well, they had allowed the CIA to infiltrate the White House. As soon as he did, a fellow named James McCord offered his services to the Republican or to the re-election campaign. So he had infiltrated as the security officer. 2 CIA agents had infiltrated the campaign in the White House. And what they were trying to do is they had been running this operation where they were wiretapping prostitutes in their johns with the consent of the bordello. But the problem is that was illegal. If they could get the White House to buy off on doing that same thing, they could then consider themselves to have a get-out-of-jail card free. So what happened was, nobody could figure out who had caused this wiretapping. So anyway, the CIA was heavily involved, and the Washington Post hid their involvement, basically, is what it was. And they said this is a campaign operation. It wasn't a campaign operation. That is clear. And Richard Nixon was hustled out of office because of bad reporting. He had nothing to do with this.
It was a coup, John, was it not?
Oh, it was a coup. Yeah. The Democrats were very closely aligned with the Washington Post, and they even shared the same general counsel, the DNC and the Post. And so is the Post going to blab that the DNC was referring their out-of-town guests to the hookers down the street? No, they're not going to say that. And that's what this was about.
John, you wrote an opinion piece that I just started reading this morning about the Democrat Socialists of America and their promises, the free stuff. That has obviously gotten your attention. Your thoughts on the Democrat Socialists of America?
Well, they're doubling down. All of our affordability problems come from these socialistic programs like the Inflation Reduction Act, which was a climate bill. Biden spent trillions. Cost of living goes higher than the wages to keep up with it. And now we've got affordability problems. We've got high mortgage rates because of that. And now the DSA wants to come in and double down on those same programs that are hurting us. And there you can see how communist countries become poverty-stricken. They want to lead us down that same line,
Well, John, I look forward to finishing up the article, but I did see it was posted this morning before I came on the air, and I wanted to read some of it before you came on. I'm very pleased that we were able to get you on this morning. My friends, the books, both of those books, Postgate and the sequel, The Mysteries of Watergate, you can order at postgatebook.com. Also, John's opinion pieces you can read at postgatebook.com, because the Washington Compost wants us to pay them money to subscribe, and many of us are not fond of doing that, John. So we're glad you put the articles up there.
Yeah. So good, Jake. And next time I'll be on time.
Yes, John, that's fine. At least we got you on. Now, remember, my friends, John O'Connor, altar boy, can still say the Confiteor in Latin without looking at the text, right, my friend?
Well, Confiteor Dei Omnipotenti Beata Maria, etc., etc. Yes, I can say it.
God bless, John. I'll talk to you soon. Have a good weekend.
Take care, buddy.
All right, you too. You're listening to Your News Talk America. We're going to talk about Iran and what's going on in the Middle East. We are now hitting bridges, infrastructure, my friends. That is changing the direction of this war from preventing Iran from being a nuclear power to preventing Iran from restocking its military. A lot has changed. We'll check in with our 2 experts coming up in just a moment. Stay with us.
knots, seas around 2 feet. The current water temperature is 76 degrees. At Cambridge, high tide 6:54 a.m., low tide 1:52 p.m., high tide 7:22 p.m., and at Rehoboth Beach, high tide 10:46 a.m., low tide 4:46 p.m., high tide 11:11 p.m. I'm Phil Jensko.
Where Delmarva comes to talk, 92.7 and 98.5 WGMT. MJ Powell, afternoons on WGMT. You're listening to WGMT.
This WGMD Fox Business Update is brought to you by Sussex Environmental Consultants. For a healthy home, call 302-947-1810.
I'm Susan Lee, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Apple topped Nvidia today to become the world's most valuable company again. The move came on a market sell-off day. Apple's value in early trading nudged up to $4.88 trillion. Nvidia slipped to $4.86 trillion. Nvidia shares have been slipping because of a chip sell-off on artificial intelligence concerns. Apple reclaimed the top spot for the first time since April of last year on a day that Apple's losing ground, but Nvidia shares have been down 3.5%. Americans are feeling better about the economy as measured by the University of Michigan. Its reading for July came in at 54.4, which was an improvement and also topped expectations. And Traveler shares are up more than 7.5% after upbeat earnings. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Jenny Coselda. Invested in you.
I'm David Ortiz. When I lost my mom, she was only 46, and I lost my dad to cancer. It was the worst pain I ever felt. It made me think, what will happen with the people I love when my time is up? That's why I have life insurance. Ethos makes it easy. It's all online, take about 10 minutes, and you can get up to $3 million in coverage.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/save. That's ethos.com/save. Paid testimonial. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Broadcasting from the Montague Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Well, we have hit 2,000 targets in the last few days along Iran's state-run electrical grid. That's putting a strain on the country's power grid. In addition, we have also expanded our airstrike campaign by increasingly hitting these bridges. And what do you guys make of the Houthis possibly being involved in this? Because Iran has asked the Houthi terrorists, as we've been talking about this morning, to prepare to close a critical part of the Red Sea, this gateway called Bab el-Mandab Strait, if the U.S. attacks Iran's power infrastructure.
I don't know if you understand that Epic Fury is back. The administration is not calling it that, but my friends, that is exactly what it is. A lot going on, and we have two panelists with us that are going to explain it all. Brigham A. McCown, U.S. Navy retired senior fellow and Director, Initiative on American Energy Security at the Hudson Institute. Also joining us this morning is Ryan Morgan, Pentagon and military reporter for the Epoch Times. Ryan, let me ask you first. There has been quite a bit of attention the U.S. military has been paying to a region called Bandar Abbas. Why is that? What is Bandar Abbas, and why are we spending so much time bombing targets there, Ryan?
Yeah, Bandar Abbas is I guess it's located near the mouth of the Strait of Hormuz, so it's been that critical waterway that we've seen a lot of this back and forth fighting over these last few months, and certainly what they're trying to do is suppress the Iranian ability to harass that waterway. That's been the crucial, or it's been one of the crucial fighting points across this conflict.
Brigham A. McCown, U.S. Navy retired commander, thank you so much for coming back on the broadcast with us. President Trump has been threatening to hit infrastructure civilian infrastructure in Iran. And last night we started negatively, well, let's put it this way, we started hitting their power grid or areas of the power grid. The Iranian people are now seeing that they don't have access to electricity and so forth. Is this now what we're seeing the energy situation in Iran and its people, are they going to be affected by the change in the military targets that the United States is hitting?
Hey, first of all, thanks for having me back on. It's a pleasure to be with you. And, I think the answer is it depends. What we've started hitting are what we call dual use facilities. And those are facilities that both have a civilian component to the infrastructure, but they're also powering Iran's war machine. And in particular, we've been hitting bridges and power infrastructure leading down to Bandar Abbas, where it was already mentioned the IGCC is hanging out and using that base to attack the U.S. So far, we are responding to the threat and where the threat is coming from. But it is escalating, and as you've pointed out, yeah, we're back. I mentioned when the ceasefire came about that this was like a playground timeout. It wasn't going to last very long.
And you were correct, quite correct, Commander. Now, the situation with the Houthi, we know this morning the Iranians were threatening that if President Trump hit civilian targets, that they were going to fire missiles at neighboring Gulf states, at American bases in neighboring Gulf states. We hear now that a desalinization plant in Kuwait has been hit. Those desalinization plants, tell me if I'm wrong, are very important to those neighboring Gulf states. That's where they get their drinking water from, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And hitting that desalinization plant in Kuwait, that's not an attack on America. That's an attack on the Gulf's drinking water. And other people, frankly, need to be angry at Tehran, not just us. This can't be America's war alone when it's Asian oil and the Gulf's water on the line.
Ryan, you talked the other day about the possibility that the Red Sea is going to be drawn into this conflict. And now Iran is openly inviting the Houthi to get involved and to attack shipping in the Red Sea. Have you seen any change in the Red Sea and their shipping since you were on the program the other day?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I believe this morning there was a report by the UK's maritime. It's their maritime monitor. I'm forgetting the acronym, but they reported that there was an incident with a commercial vessel in the Bab al-Mandab Strait, which is that waterway leading into the Red Sea. And it is important to understand that, yes, the Houthis are this. They've kind of been sitting on the sidelines here, but we've seen what they can do before. After October 7th, 2023, they did become involved and they did demonstrate an ability to snarl traffic through the Red Sea, which is another critical waterway for global trade. But during this latest conflict, they've really been holding they've been keeping their powder dry and just waiting on the wings. And it's always been a concern that part of Iran's escalation strategy will involve, as we've mentioned before, attacking those desalination plants, which I believe last I checked, I think something on the order of like 3/4 of the water supply for the region is reliant on working functional desalination plants. But then also the Houthis being able to disrupt trade through another key waterway, and what that also is likely to do is split the attention of, I believe it's 2 U.S. carrier groups that are in the region, plus some other assets. It's going to have to split their attention somewhat to address both problems in both key waterways.
Commander, my last question, we have obviously changed our military planning, from keeping Iran from attaining a nuclear weapon to changing their ability to affect maritime traffic in the Strait of Hormuz. What's the difference, and what is it going to mean to the American military now that we seem to be, for all intents and purposes, the police officer patrolling the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, I think first of all, what we've determined is there are no Jeffersonian Democrats in Tehran. The so-called moderates want the same regime with better physical cut and the civilians out of the room. And that's what we're seeing. So whoever we eventually negotiate with will be wearing a uniform. This is a battle of wills, and the wills are funded. Iran's economy is shrinking. Their own government is telling people to turn off the air conditioning at 122-degree heat. The question is whether their society cracks before our patience and resolve does.
What do you think?
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. Yeah.
Okay. I want to thank you both. Commander Brigham A. McCown, U.S. Navy retired Senior Fellow, Director Initiative on American Energy Security at the Hudson Institute. Ryan Morgan, Pentagon military reporter for the Epoch Times. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on this morning. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you
for having me.
Thank you. You're watching Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday. Dr. Murray Sabrin is going to talk about our constitutional protections. Dr. Sabrin is coming up next. Stay with us.
You're connected 24/7 to Your News Talk America at realnewstalk.com.
Here's a look at your Delmarva forecast. 89 this afternoon under partly cloudy skies. Northeasterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tonight, lows level off around 73. Slight chance of thunderstorms tomorrow. Highs around 93, partly cloudy. Slight chance for storms Sunday. Highs level off around 88. 86, mainly sunny Monday. I'm meteorologist Paul Trombley from the Talk of Delmarva Weather Center, inland. Currently, it's 86 degrees.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson of the Rob Carson Show, now on the Talk of Delmarva's 98.5.
Mike Bradley mornings on WGMD.
Vernon Powell behind the mall in Salisbury is rolling out the wraps for its annual sidewalk sale. Today through Saturday, the BP Shoes parking lot is filled with unbelievable savings on men's, women's, and children's shoes, apparel, and accessories. Plus, shop inside the value corner and save on an additional 2,000 pairs of shoes, all priced at 50% off. Save up to 75% during the BP Shoes sidewalk sale. Now through Saturday at Vernon Powell behind the mall in Salisbury. Vernon Powell Shoes, apparel, and more.
What's up, Bravo? A giant limb just fell from your favorite napping tree? You want me to call Complete Tree Care? You're right. Complete Tree Care has professional crews and the most up-to-date equipment to safely perform all of our tree care needs. Okay, I'll call Complete Tree Care today at 302-947-2273 or on the web at CompleteTreeCareDE.com. No dogs were injured while producing this ad.
Hi, I'm Tim, and I'm a principal with Giuliani Associates. A building can look impressive, but if it doesn't work, it costs you every day. Customer flow, staff efficiency, operational performance. We design commercial facilities that are built to work and built to grow with your business. As Delmarva expands, your building should support what's next. Giuliani Associates. Architecture is an investment. Design a better Delmarva.com. Design a better Delmarva.com.
If you can't find your favorite Talk of Delmarva shows on the WGMD app, here's a tip. Download the WGMD app from the Apple Store or Google Play on your smartphone. Open the app and click on the red box on the upper left of the screen to reveal a pull-down menu. Click on Other Stations, then click on 92.7 or 98.5. Then enjoy your favorite shows from the Talk of Delmarva.
To honor those men and women who have defended freedom whenever and wherever it was threatened, the Talk of Delmarva presents Salute the Troops.
Who died at the age of 30 on January 27, 2020, while serving during Operation Freedom's Sentinel. Captain Phaneuf hailed from Hudson, New Hampshire. He was killed when his Bombardier E-11A crashed in Ghazni Province, Afghanistan. He was assigned to the 37th Bomb Squadron at Ellsworth Air Force Base in South Dakota. His decorations included the Air Force Commendation Medal. Salute the Troops honors the ultimate sacrifice in Afghanistan of U.S. Air Force Captain Ryan S. Phaneuf. If not for his commitment to serve, if not for his courage to fly in Afghanistan, this nation could not. This nation would never have remained free. May this grateful nation never forget the ultimate sacrifice of United States Air Force Captain Ryan S. Phaneuf. Rest in peace, sir. For Salute the Troops, I'm Jake Smith.
My name is Corporal Bradley Joseph Seitz.
Jerry Reed.
Kate Weber.
These are real veterans facing a real challenge.
I have PTSD.
And I have PTSD.
I have PTSD.
Post-traumatic stress disorder can happen to anyone.
I was still in a war zone in my mind.
But treatment can turn your life around.
Treatment has really saved my life.
To learn about PTSD and how treatment can help you, call your local VA medical center or visit ptsd.va.gov.
Broadcasting from the Meineke Car Care Center studio. It's your News Talk America on 92.7 WGMD. The Talk of Delmarva.
Your News Talk America Digital Interactive Friday. We're streaming video at realnewstalk.com and also at Facebook Live. We're back in the studio. Just wanted to send out a message to our listener producer on dial, Wolf. Wolf, you are typing in the dial lounge and it's all gibberish, and we're concerned for your safety. Could you just give us our office a call at 302-945-2050 and let us know that you're okay? Producer Vanessa was asking, Wolf, are you okay? I'm not sure if it's a technical issue, if perhaps you need assistance, but give our office a call at 302-945-2050 and let us know that you are okay. Now, someone who is definitely okay, who helped us get ready for the 250th anniversary of this nation, Dr. Murray Sabrin. He is a Mises Institute Associated Scholar and Emeritus Professor of Finance at Ramapo College in New Jersey. Dr. Murray Sabrin, welcome back. It's great having you with us. And how did you like our celebration over the 4th of July
I missed
holiday?
you, Jake, for a few weeks. So I must say I had withdrawal. I had Jake Smith withdrawal for the past 3 weeks.
Well, we did as well. We missed you, Dr. Sabrin. Now, before we get to the first topic that I want to talk about, that is the People's Republic of California, what did you think of this latest budget resolution proposal, which is going to add another $95 billion onto the national debt?
Well, this shows you the fiscal irresponsibility of Washington, D.C., and it doesn't matter who's governing Washington, D.C. The budget just keeps on going up, up, up and away. The debt keeps on going up and away. The deficits keep on in the $2 trillion a year range, which is mind-boggling when you think about it. Most people can't wrap their heads around it because they don't deal in such numbers. But the point is, there's going to be a day of reckoning, just as there were in Argentina, Greece, Zimbabwe, and other nations that just printed money and spent money they didn't have. And we are not immune to this. And the people in Washington don't seem to care, because if they did, they'd do something about it. But what's happened, Jake, as we all know, is that so many people are dependent upon the federal government for income that anytime you cut income for people, 5%, people go crazy. So imagine if you have to reduce it by 10, 20% to get a balanced budget at a $7 trillion level. My proposal is very simple. If we had a constitutional budget, we wouldn't have this problem. And that's why I wrote my first book, Tax Free 2000, The Rebirth of American Liberty in 95, as a roadmap to a balanced budget at much lower levels with following the Constitution for spending. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to not reissue the book, but keep on writing on Substack about what we need to do systematically to get us back to fiscal sanity, because we are fiscally insane at this point. Not us, Jake, you and me, and your listeners.
we are fiscally sane. That is true, Dr. Sabrin.
I mean, no business and no individual or no family can do what the federal government does, is run up deficits every year to spend more than they take in. And if you do that, you don't have any savings for the future, and your future is going to be miserable. And so the federal government is doing the same thing for the whole country as we can't do as individuals. And the day of reckoning is coming. I'm on the record saying it could happen as early as 2029, but it's certainly going to happen in the 2030s.
Your thoughts about the Democrat Socialists of America? They are aiming to take control of the Democrat Party. They are looking at doing things that are on steroids compared to what their Democrat cousins have been doing, right, Dr. Sabrin?
There's no question about it. And you know where I put the blame? And this is going to be counterintuitive to most people, the Republicans, because they haven't pushed back on any of the New Deal or Great Society programs for the past 90 years. These programs are like mushrooms. They just grow and grow and grow in the forest. And the forest is the United States. And we're now seeing the logical outcome of the New Deal and Great Society programs. We need to get back to fiscal sanity, and the Republicans need to stand up with one voice and say,
but the Republicans are doing it. They're in control of the House, and they're increasing spending another $95 billion, Dr. Sabrin. The Republicans are doing this.
I mean, between foreign aid and grants and subsidies, I'm going to say something that most people won't agree with, but it's absolutely, I believe it's true. President Trump is paving the way for a possible Democratic Socialist president in 2028 if economic conditions continue to deteriorate for the next 2 years.
Wow, that's pretty scary stuff. That is very scary. Now, there's something interesting going on out in the People's Republic of California, out in Newsomville. The state has a law now that, and a team of inspectors that are going to be inspecting the trash cans of residents to see if they're complying with green guidelines and to reduce emissions and greenhouse gases and that kind of thing. Do you think that the founders ever envisioned the trash of Americans being inspected and American citizens being punished because they threw out the wrong type of trash?
This is what happens when you have a government that just keeps on growing and they think they can manage the economy, the false narrative of global
manage everything.
I mean, I've seen this evolve for more than a half a century, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. Our privacy is basically gone. The federal government has access to all our financial records. I think the founders will be so appalled as to what's going on. They probably thought that Britain has taken over America sometime in the 19th and 20th century. And we are now subservient to the federal government. We're no longer free and independent sovereign citizens. We don't have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We have life and the pursuit of trying to keep away from the taxman and from the federal government.
Do you believe that speed cameras are legal and constitutional in this country, or do they violate the Fourth Amendment? What do you think?
I think that a good case could be made they violate the Fourth Amendment. I mean, speed cameras is another invasion of privacy. I mean, the point is, speed is not the problem. It's recklessness that's the problem on the roads. I mean, if you're driving 30 miles an hour and you get into an accident, it's not the 30 miles an hour that was the problem. It was your recklessness in hitting somebody or not making a turn correctly. So again, these are the things we should have a debate about. I've seen people go through stop signs, go through red lights. So it's not the speed that's the problem. It's how people drive. And we know a lot of seniors have difficulty navigating the roads, and there should be tests for people at a certain age, or when they get a ticket because they made an illegal turn, they should be going to the DMV and getting checked out.
Now, you're formerly of New Jersey, living in Florida now, right?
Correct.
Okay, so did Jersey have better drivers or Florida?
That's a very good question, because the roads here are really well laid out. You have left turn lanes. You have signals that make common sense at intersections. And the only time I see accidents is when someone goes through a red light or goes through a stop sign. But people here are pretty calm on the roads, unless you go on I-75 when people are doing 80, 90 miles an hour, and I'm doing my speed limit at 65 and 70. And it's just amazing how people in the left lane. And the other thing that they do is they tailgate like crazy at 75 miles an hour. And when I see that on I-75, and I rarely go on I-75 these days, you just hope and pray that there isn't a pileup, because when you have 10 cars close to each other at 80 miles an hour in the left lane,
that's a recipe for disaster. No, it's a recipe for disaster. There's no question. Final question for Dr. Murray Sabrin. President Trump laid out his evidence last night, posted it on whitehouse.gov about Chinese Communist Party, their involvement in stealing the 2020 election. President Trump says the evidence also calls into question the United States government was involved, co-conspirators along with the Chinese Communist Party, that our government employees that we pay for, that we employ, were actually working along with the Chinese Communist Party to bring about a coup, to remove Donald Trump from office for his second term. As someone who you base your life and what you believe on the United States Constitution, how does that make you feel?
Well, this is why I think the people who are arguing for paper ballots have a valid point.
No
because
question.
I've been told by someone who was involved in national security issues as a consultant to the FBI, Secret Service, and the U.S. military.
But they were involved in it.
Yeah.
The FBI, the Secret Service, and the CIA were involved in the coup. But go ahead.
Well, the thing is, he told me you can hack an electronic voting machine with a smartphone. And so if that's the case, then we know that there's a lack of security regarding these electronic voting machines, and paper ballots are the way to go. Plus mail-in ballots, voting by mail is a real problem, because now instead of having election day, we have election quarter where people vote 3 months ahead of election day. And now if you send in your ballot, it could be counted several days after election day. I think a simple rule is if your ballot doesn't arrive at the polling place by election day, it's not going to be counted. Therefore, you should send it in a week before the election.
Well, Justice Alito agrees with you, Dr. Sabrin.
Well, this is where great minds come together. It's, I mean, it's such a common sense thing that you either have mechanical voting, like I remember having back when I first started voting in the late 60s, early 70s, or you have paper ballots like you do in many third world countries. They seem to get it done pretty honestly.
They don't have a problem
efficiently.
counting them in one night. They don't have any difficulties. Why is it a problem here? Because those electronic voting machines are subject to hackers? Is that the possibility?
Well, I'll give you a personal example. When I was the Libertarian Party candidate for governor in 1997, there was one county, several counties that the polls closed at 8 o'clock. They had the results within a half hour. And then there were several counties that didn't have the results till midnight. How could that possibly be if you have electronic voting and several counties can get the job done in a half an hour? Other counties had to wait 4 hours before the final tally was done. There's something fishy about not getting the votes counted on election day within an hour. If you can't do that,
it takes California 2 months to count the votes, right?
It's absurd. I mean, there's no way that you could say that this is honest with any degree of sincerity, because if you can't count votes in the way they're supposed to be counted, then something is going on. And the fact that people are mailing in ballots and people, I was told by a friend of mine, a journalist from New Jersey, his daughter doesn't live with him anymore, and she got a paper ballot. He could have used that to send in a mail paper ballot. So there seems to be not enough safeguards regarding the mail-in ballots.
Right. The 4 years that Joe Biden slept in the White House, if President Trump is right, he was never president in the first place. What happens to all his decisions? What happens to his? What happens to the pardons? What happens to? Well, we know his executive orders were done away with when Trump went back to the White House. But what happens in that case? Any idea?
Well, this is a great constitutional question, and I think I will leave it to the constitutional experts like Judge Napolitano to come up with a solution for this. But
well, he's in Italy on vacation right now. Should I text him with that question?
Absolutely.
And have him get back to me?
I can't wait till he gets back on his podcast, Judging Freedom, because he's had some great guests on to talk about foreign policy, and we are on a slippery slope, Jake. There are two things that can ruin a nation, and Ernest Hemingway pointed it out decades and decades ago. One is inflation, the debasement of the currency, which is now happening, and the other is war. And those two things are happening right now in America, and the outcomes for the country, for the American people, are not so good, because their standard of living is going down because they're paying more every year, every day, every month, and war is not paid for, and it's unconstitutional. If you're going to have war, The Constitution clearly says it has to be declared by Congress. You just president can't go to war, whether it's a Republican or Democratic president. And the point is, I don't know how many people are worried that the Iranians are going to invade America. Trump says they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they don't have any missiles that can reach us, let alone most of Western Europe. So what's the problem here? And this is a war of choice. And the people in Washington have to wake up and smell the roses that we need peace. We were supposed to have a peace dividend 35 years ago when the Soviet Union collapsed. Meanwhile, the military budget is maybe $1.5 trillion next year, which is unconscionable given that we should be at peace with everybody and just have a strong enough military to prevent any attack. And people have written about how we could reduce the military budget by at least 50% and still keep America safe from any potential adversary.
The situation with the war now, and I brought this up to our last guests, they were speaking primarily on the military issue, but our mission in Iran was to destroy any possibility that they might have had to become a nuclear power. We've done that. Now, the mission has changed to ensuring traffic through the Strait of Hormuz, that we are functioning as the Strait of Hormuz police officer. Pulling over ships that don't belong there, and that is a 180-degree change from what the original mission was stated to be. What do you think about that, Dr. Sabrin?
Well, this is why people have argued that we should not be the policemen of the world, that we cannot do it. We're stretched so thin. We have bases all over the world. We have troops all over the world. This is not what a great country does. This is what an empire does. And empires always collapse. That's been the lesson of history. Every nation that's had an empire, whether it's the British Empire, the Spanish Empire, the Dutch Empire, you go down the list of all the European nations that have had empires, they've all collapsed. We need to realize that in the United States, but unfortunately, you have the military-industrial complex, you have the neocon who think that our job is to spread democracy around the world, which means that they don't understand other cultures. Other cultures may not like democracy. They may
Iraq didn't understand democracy. Look what happened there.
And the same thing with Afghanistan. We were there for 20 years, Perfect and point. What did we accomplish? Zero. We left $80 billion of military equipment there. And this is the scandal of the federal government. No matter who runs it, they don't have a loyalty to the Constitution. Their loyalty is to their donors and the deep state, to use a term that's been popular the last few years. That's what Washington is all about. It's not about we the people. It's about them, the political and financial elites that are running the country.
Dr. Sabrin, I just something popped into my head that I want to ask you before you go, and that is the rent control stabilization that has been put on steroids by the New York mayor, Mamdani. We're already seeing that landlords are not going to put up with this. What do you think invariably is going to happen with this situation in New York? You're going to have buildings that the city's going to have to take. They're going to have to seize, take over. They're going to have to maintain those buildings, provide heat, provide air conditioning. The fact of the matter is, if the landlords can't get the proper rent for their buildings, you're just going to walk away from them. Perhaps that's what the Democrat Socialists of America want.
I saw this firsthand when I was a teacher in the South Bronx in the late 60s and early 70s. And along the Cross Bronx Expressway, you would see empty buildings, blocks and blocks of empty buildings. Oh, my gosh.
Remember that? Remember that?
This was the result of rent control, which started in 1943 and then continued, and it's still in effect. And the other day on CNBC, Richard Lefrak, the big housing developer in New York City, he said there are 87 vacant apartments in the city because landlords can't get enough rent in order to upgrade the apartments. So this is every time you have a supply disruption, it's usually because of a natural event like a frost or an earthquake or something like that, or a government policy. And here it's a clear example of government policy, which is as bad as an earthquake or a natural disaster because it destroys property. And if people don't understand that, they don't understand basic economics, and they're just blind to the truth. And that's why I started the MAFI movement, right? Make Americans financially independent. The Democratic Socialists have a movement. The free market constitutional individuals, pro-constitutional individuals, don't have a movement. That's why I created MAFI, Make Americans Financially Independent, MAFIUSA.com. We need to have people at the local level organize themselves, learn from each other, read the good free market stuff, Economics in One Lesson, The Law, What Has Government Done to Our Money, all the great books that have been written the past 150 years, which explain why a free enterprise economy and a limited government constitutional republic is the best way for social harmony and sustainable prosperity.
I don't know if you remember, and I call it the Cross Bronx Distress Way, by the way, Dr. Sabrin. But in those years, when Ed Koch took over as mayor, they put these decal coverings over the buildings had all been burned out. They were all burned out. So there were, empty holes where the windows were. So the city figured out that they could put decals over those windows or some type of covering to make it look like there was a window and that there were curtains in the window. That's what Demcoms do to hide how their policies fail.
This is happening. This has happened throughout history. We've had price controls for 2,000 years, and they've always ended in disaster. And sometimes it leads to revolution, political revolution, sometimes violently. So I'm not advocating that, obviously. I want a peaceful, harmonious America. And the only way we're going to get that if we get back to fundamental principles that the founders envisioned, that I updated with my Declaration of Re-Independence on my Substack, murraysabrin.substack.com from June 4th. We need to get back to fundamental principles. And unfortunately, the schools and the colleges have been teaching young people that socialism is somehow another alternative that is just as good as free enterprise. I don't use the word capitalism because capitalism has a negative connotation. I use the word free enterprise because right now we have crony capitalism, we have state capitalism. And unfortunately, there are people going to Washington that love it because they're making a lot of money. That's why the wealth gap in this country has widened so much because of all the money printing by the Federal Reserve and all the federal spending that's been going on. People are feeding at the trough, and we need to stop that. And it starts at the top. They should set the example and go down until low-income people can get jobs and get skills that can give them an income that they don't need any sort of benefit from the federal government.
So based on what you said, Dr. Sabrin, you're not a big fan of Woodrow Wilson, and neither is Judge Napolitano.
Oh, Woodrow Wilson did the country so much harm because he campaigned in 1916 as the peace candidate. And as soon as he was inaugurated, he asked for a declaration of war because Wall Street was up to their eyeballs in loans to Britain and France. And so you had the financial elite in America wanting war so they can save their financial rear ends because of all the debt that they've issued or they bought from these belligerent nations. And World War I led to World War II. And so the Great War became the Great War II in 1939.
That's right.
With the grievances that the countries had after World War I.
One of our listener producers, Big Cat, just posted and says, Dr. Sabrin is a great guest, by the way. There you go, Dr. Sabrin.
Well, the thing is, I've been doing this for a long time, Jake. I started writing in the 1970s. I've been trying to get the word out to people. That's why I did the Substack. That's why I'm doing MAFIUSA.com. If we don't push back on the Democratic Socialists, I think we are going to have a Democratic Socialist president because the Democratic Socialists are keen of either taking over the Democratic Party or creating their own party, which will make the Democratic Party a third or fourth party.
Thank you, Dr. Sabrin.
Thank you, Jake.
And 98.5 WUSX Seaford, the talk of Delmarva.
Expanded attacks in the Middle East. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Iran firing missiles at Gulf neighbors after a sixth night of U.S. airstrikes, now hitting key infrastructure, not just weapons locations.
We are finally seeing in real time what President Trump was briefed about in the Situation Room a couple days ago when he had the national security team there